throttling and debouncing is a very important JavaScript interview question. Hello everyone, I'm Ruhani Makhija. Welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to teach you what is throttling and debouncing in JavaScript. Let me tell you, this is the only video you have to see to understand throttling and debouncing. So let's get started. So first let's start with debouncing. As you can see on the screen, I will explain debouncing with the help of one example. So let's read these lines very carefully. If you are typing in a search bar, debouncing can ensure that the search function runs only after you stop typing for a set of duration. I know you didn't got it, but let me break down of this. So I'm gonna create like a search bar here. So we have search bar in any websites, right? So let's say you are searching JavaScript in this. Okay, so you typed J. So and let's say we have a search API call. Okay, you typed J, so that search API call happened once. Then you are typing A, it happened twice. Then V, it happened thrice. A, it happened again. So we are continuously calling the search API when you are typing the letters. Okay, so now what is the problem is this, that API calls are a lot, because of which performance will go down. So the question is how to reduce them, how to reduce the API calls. So with the help of debouncing, we can reduce the API calls. So you are kind of typing it continuously, like you are continuously typing it. So we can give a duration. Let's say for 500 milliseconds. We won't do any API call, like no API calls will be done. After that only API call can happen, like that. Now we have to understand this properly. Let me move it down. Okay, so you are typing JAVAS continuously and then you stopped. Okay, you stopped for a bit. Now here, when you are stopped typing, we are giving a time, for example 500 millisecond. If the user is not typing for 500 milliseconds, then only API call will happen. So here our first API call happened. Then you started typing script. You stopped here. So again for 500 milliseconds it will see, like it will observe, are you still typing? No, right? So second API call will happen. And so how many API calls were needed for this? Only 2. Because of debouncing we can implement this. I will tell you how to implement it in code, of course, but you have to understand the concept first. And if we are not applying debouncing on every letter, this will happen, like on every letter the API call will happen. Okay, so I believe that now you will be able to understand the definition of debouncing. So it's a technique in programming to ensure that function is executed only after a certain period of time that passed since the last event was triggered. So I will explain you this definition. I think we have this example, right? The JavaScript. So it is a technique used in programming to ensure that function is executed. Function means the API call, like the API calls are executed only after a certain period of time. So for example, here we have taken 500 milliseconds. So only after 500 milliseconds this will be executed since the last event. Since the last event means since last you have typed. So I am just relating this definition to the example I explained. I hope you understood. If you have any questions in debouncing, do comment in the comment section. Also, I'll explain throttling now, and then after that we will be moving to the code of debouncing and throttling. I will also be explaining the polyfills of both. Make sure to watch the full video. Now let's understand about throttling. So let's read this first. Again, this is an example. We will understand the example and then the definition. When scrolling a page, so we have some page and we are scrolling it down, throttling ensures that a function checking scroll position executes at a regular interval instead of firing continuously. Again, this is used for reducing the API call or reducing the function calls only. But how is it different from debouncing? Lot of people have confusion in what is throttling, what is debouncing, what is the difference between them. This is the reason I'm explaining both in one video. Make sure to understand the difference between them. So let us try to break down the example first. So let's say we have a page, okay? This is like a zero scroll event, like scroll position, let's say. And we are scrolling the page. Now we are at 100 scroll position. Okay, now when we scroll the position, the scroll event occurs, right? We add a add event listener scroll and we add a function to it. Okay, so let's give the name to the function as API scroll. Let's say some API is getting called in that function, so API scroll is that function. Now you are scrolling the position down. It means there will be a point that once it is at 0, then it is at 1, 2, 3 till 100. From 0 to 100 if you go, you will literally make 100 API calls. If you are not applying any technique, you are just scrolling like that and normally applying the API scroll event, you will literally make 100 API calls and the performance will go down again. Same concept is applicable to throttling as well. So now what is throttling? Now what we can do here is, when the person is scrolling, so we can make like after 500 milliseconds only call it. Then again if 500 milliseconds went, then call it. It is not dependent on me. Like in debouncing, what happened is, when I stopped typing, then it starts the countdown, like then the 500 milliseconds are counted. But here, if the person is continuously scrolling down, it will just take the interval. Like the last API call happened here. After that, it will exactly count 500 milliseconds. It will make the API call. Exactly 500 milliseconds, it will make the API call. What was happening in debouncing? In debouncing, it was somehow dependent on you also, right? Like if you are continuously typing JavaScript, okay, and you are continuously typing, no, you are not waiting in between, so at last only one API call will happen. For example, in this search, we, instead of debouncing, we try to apply throttling in typing, okay, and we say that this whole word you are typing in 1000 milliseconds, okay, and we say that after 200 milliseconds we want the API calls to happen. So it will happen 5 times, right? It will be divided in 200 like that. So this is how debouncing and throttling are different. In debouncing, exact interval is counting, like we are not considering the last event. In you remember the definition of throttling, right? In the throttling definition, this is the very important part, since the last event was triggered. This is not the case so this is case in debouncing, and this is not the case in throttling. I want to tell you one more example of throttling. So we have some apps in our mobile, right, for counting the steps. Okay, so in that app, how does that work actually? For example, we are moving our first step, it counted to 1, then second step, third step, it won't count all the steps, right? We have to apply debouncing on throttling on this, so that the function call, the API call can be reduced. So for example, we can decide like after 2 seconds, like 2000 milliseconds, after 2000 milliseconds only count what is the number now. So now you are walking, it is 1 step, then after 2 seconds maybe it's 7th step, after 2 seconds it's 15th step. So this is how this is used in real life application. So think of such scenarios where you can actually implement it. Also think of which will be better. Throttling will be better on this, or debouncing will be better. So yeah, do comment below like one real life example, research about it, and which apps it is actually used. Now we will get back to our code. First we will be coding debouncing, then throttling. Also I'll be explaining the polyfills of it. Polyfills of debouncing and throttling is again a really important interview question. So make sure to watch the full video. Let's get to the code. I've opened my code editor. You can use any code editor you are comfortable on. So first I'm gonna implement the debouncing, the same example which we discussed, like we are gonna create a search bar and implement a debounce function on that. So in the HTML file, inside div, I'm creating an input, type text and placeholder search. Okay, let's give it a unique ID so we can identify it in JavaScript. Search input. Okay, and here I'm just giving a paragraph. Whenever we search anything, maybe in this paragraph something will be there. Let's think like searching for whatever we write inside it, that will be there. So let me give it a unique ID. This is the result, like whatever we are searching for, it will be returned here. So that's it on HTML. We will go to JavaScript and target the particular sections first, the search. So I hope you already know this, like document.getElementById. So we are getting this particular input by targeting its ID, that is search input. Yeah, if you don't know this, just kind of console search here, check in console, do some debugging, and I'm sure you will understand it. Okay, so we have this search here. Now like when we type something on input, we have to do something, right? So that is an event. We have to trigger an event on search. So search.add event listener, or the events, make sure to explore different events, because in particularly JavaScript we don't explore more events. I recommend it, like these are very important for interviews. So add event listener, we are triggering the input event. When we trigger input event, then what? You know the add event listener syntax, right? We have to call a function here. Let's say handle search. We don't have a function right now, that's why it's giving error. Let's create the function. Arrow function, normal function, whatever you can create. I hope you know the difference of them. handle search. So here whenever we trigger it, right, let's write something inside the paragraph. Let's target it with its ID. Let me copy this. Let me do it result. So I have if you console this, right, result, you will get this. So basically we are targeting this, and inside result.text content. I hope you know the difference between text content and inner HTML. Google it and comment below maybe. Okay, text result.text content. Inside this we will write something like searching for, and whatever you have typed here. Let's give a param query. Okay, so this is our handle search function, which is taking a value inside it, right? So here we have to get that value. So let's make it like a callback function, and we will pass a event here, and here event dot target dot value. Okay, so till now we haven't done anything related to debouncing. We have just added a input event, and whenever we input, it will call this function handle search, and it will print here down. Let me see. Yeah, you see, whenever I'm typing, it is calling it. So what I mean to say is, like, whenever, consider this thing as a API call or a function call. Like function call, you can see, right, this is a function call, but let's say inside this the API is there, right? So if I type Q, one API call happens. W, one API call happens. E, R, T, Y. So it is immediately printing it. Like suppose we are typing 100 letters, 100 API call will happen. This, we don't want this, right? We want to reduce the API call. So we will implement debouncing in this. So we don't want this handle search function. So we will create a new function, debounced search, and in this function we will take a debounce. We will put this function and delay here. I know you didn't got this. I will make sure to explain you properly. So we are creating another function which is doing debouncing to this function, and in debouncing we have to tell, right, how many seconds, how many milliseconds you have to debounce with. So debounce function always takes a function and the delay. This debounce function is like not inbuilt in JavaScript. We have to create it. So I'm gonna create this function as well. How to create now? This is a polyfill, basically a really important interview question. Polyfill of debounce. Let me explain you how to create polyfills. Like, you don't have to mug up, you don't have to learn it. So you see, we have a debounce function here. What are we passing? We know this, right? We have to pass a function and the delay time. These two are the required terms to implement it, right? So inside this, what we have? We should have a function and we should have a delay. Okay, now first you have to think about the params. Okay, to create any polyfills, I'm saying this will be really helpful. You have to think of the params, then you have to think, what is this returning? So this is returning debounced search, which we will put here, right? Because handle search is again and again calling the API. We don't want that. I will remove this and we want to put it here. What is this? It is a function. In add event listener we put a function, right? The syntax of add event listener, you should know that. We put a function here, right? So debounce actually returns a function. In JavaScript we can return a function, right? Return function. Maybe a function has arguments. This doesn't have arguments, but maybe it can have arguments. So we will just spread it and write it. I hope you know the spread operator. If not, you can do command and I can create a video of it. So it is actually returning a function. Okay, so we understood the params of it. We understood what is debounce function returning. Now this is the function which we have to implement after a delay, right? So what is the thing in JavaScript that is by which we can delay something? I hope you are thinking right. That is set timeout, of course. So set timeout, it's inside this, there is a callback function, comma, and we write the seconds we have to, milliseconds we have to delay. So I'm writing the variable here. Now inside this, what we have to do? We have to call the function, right? I can just do like this. But what if the function has arguments like these? So do you know call, apply, bind? Yeah, so we have to do apply this. I will tell you properly what this means, don't worry. So see, function dot apply means these arguments will be applied to this, like this will be targeting to like it will be taking these arguments and it will apply to this function. For now you can understand it like this, else you have to have a deep down information of apply. Let me know if you want a video of call, apply, bind. Okay, so again we have to see what we have done till now. We decided the params of debounce function. We decided that it is returning a function. Maybe the function can have arguments, so we have to put it, and after a particular time this function will get executed. Don't ever forget to clear the timeout. This is very important. To clear the timeout we need a variable, right? Otherwise it will keep on going, like you have to clear the timeout and then again it will start, right? So here I am assigning, okay, I created a variable here, a let timer, and this timer I am putting it here. Now here I can just clear timeout. Yeah, that's it. That's the polyfill of debounce function. See, I think you understood it very properly line by line, right? Why we have taken these params, what this function is returning, if there are arguments, how is it getting called with the help of apply. Why we are doing set timeout? Because we want to execute that particular API call, that particular function at a particular delay. Yeah, so this is the debounce function. So we have applied this debounce function to search with 500 milliseconds. Let me increase it to 2 seconds to see the result. Then here debounce search, this is a function. It is happening when we type something. I believe this should work. Let me save it and write here. So I've written Java, stopped for a while, and after 2 seconds we got it. But what is this? Okay, so handle search is taking this query, right? So here let's add it as a callback. event, we have to like pass the value which we are typing now. So event dot target dot value, it should work fine now. I have stopped typing after 2 seconds. It works. So so let me remove this debounce search and put handle search again here. It means we are not using debouncing now. Okay, handle search, whenever we have to use it with this. Just wanted to show you the difference, right? What we implemented. See, it's happening continuously, and what we did is, if I'm typing, it's not printing immediately, but after 2 seconds it print. Yeah, so this is it. This is how we implemented debouncing. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. Let's move to the throttling part now. So let's code for throttling, and we will be coding with the same example we understood before, that is the scroll event part. So I have a HTML file in front of me. Let's create a div. I'll give it a unique ID. Scroll position. Inside this div, we are going to write the scrolling position, of course. For now, I'm hard coding it to 0. But we are not able to see that scroll bar, right? Let's do some CSS on body. We will just increase the height of it. Let's say 2000 pixel. Yes, now we can see that scrolling part. But the scroll position is also moving down. We have to give it position fixed. Okay, so the position is fixed now. That's all CSS we need for this. Now let's focus on JavaScript. Now how can we track what position is it? We have to put scroll event, right? And scroll event we have to apply to the window element. So window dot add event listener scroll, and here we have to put a function, that is handle scroll. So we will create this function now, handle scroll. Okay, now inside this function we have to do something that the 0, whenever I scroll, it would actually show me the Y position, like where am I right now. Okay, so for that, let's target this ID scroll position. So scroll position equals to document dot get element by ID scroll position. Okay, now inside the scroll position we can just give the text content. We will give the same thing with dynamic value of the position. Now how to get the value? We just have to do window dot scroll y. Now let's scroll and check if this number is changing. So yeah, this handle scroll is working fine. But now what is happening is, whenever I scroll, it is changing at each position. Assume this as a API call or as a function call, right? So if I'm going down, at each particular number it is getting called. Like it is 341 right now, so assume that 341 API calls happened. Our performance will go down because of this. That's why we have to apply throttling. Okay, so that means we don't want this function here, right? Handle scroll. we have to create another function, throttled scroll. Let's give throttle handle scroll just like we did in debouncing, and let's give 2 seconds here. So throttle, again this is the polyfill of throttle which we will be creating now. Throttle. Okay, let's try to understand what we did. Okay, so we know that when we scroll we don't have to call handle scroll, right? Otherwise on each part it will call the API's call, because of which performance will go down. So let me remove this and I'll put throttled scroll here. Now when we scroll, this function will get called. So it is having another function, throttle. Inside this we have a function and we have the time. Again, the first part of polyfill, decide the params. So we have function and we have a delay. Now what is it returning? It is returning a function. In add event listener we put a function, right? So we will just return a function. Same thing as debouncing. We are having two params, function and a delay, and we are returning a function. What if this function has some arguments? So let us put some arguments with the help of spread operator. Now this is the very important part, how to apply debouncing, right? Debouncing is like after every interval we have to call the function, like the interval is fixed. So for that, let's create a variable. Now we want whatever time is there now. So I'm using this date library. So new date dot get time. This will give you the current time. Now we have to call the function at a particular condition. This condition is very important now, right? So what to put here? So let's say here I am putting a variable last time equals 0. Just to initialize it we have to do it, so that here condition can be now minus last time. So let's say now we are giving as, let's say, 2000 and last time it's 0. So 2000 minus 0, is it greater than equal to delay? We have to check that. Is it greater than or equals to the delay? If it is, then call the function. How to call the function? Call the function with whatever arguments it has. So again we will use the apply concept. Okay, so we are calling the function based on this condition, and after this we have to give last time equals to. Now I know this is a little complicated, but I will explain you with a proper example so you will understand it better. So let's say we are giving here 2000 milliseconds, right? So last time is 0 and now is 1000. Okay, so we come here. So now is 1000 minus 0 greater than equals to delay. Our delay is 2000. So 1000 is not greater than 2000, the function will not execute. Let's say now is 3000 minus 0 greater than equals to 2000. Yes, function will get executed, and now last time will become 3000. Okay, now the time increased. Let's say 4000. 4000 minus 3000 greater than equals to delay? No, function won't get executed. This is how the flow will go. If you are not able to understand this, take a book and paper, write down all three values and dry run it. I am sure you will get it. Okay, so let me just comment this part. Let us see if it's actually working or not. So on scroll we are giving the throttle scroll and throttle element. Yeah, I believe it should work fine. So yeah, I think, see, after 2 interval seconds only it is getting updated, not on each part. Okay, so that's it for throttling. Let me know in the comments section if you have any questions on debouncing or throttling. Do subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. See you in the next video.